go to Mr. Grothman from Wisconsin for 5 minutes.
Thank you. That was a good point. There are a lot of things in this budget I wonder about, but I'm going to start with the Earned Income Tax Credit. The GAO has found in the past that the EITC has an improper payment rate of 31.6%. Could you comment on that? And do you think when we have such a high improper payment rate, now would be the time to bring more people into this program?
That program and that tax credit has helped millions of working families across this country. We absolutely are concerned, and we report the improper payments as a part of GAO's report. They get that from us, so we are transparent about the need to fix EITC. I would be remiss if I didn't see some of the similarities between the last two questions. We can try to fix a program without taking away from those who need it most and working families with EITC.
I've never been a fan of the EITC, and the more people I talk to in my district, you know, I'm struck by, say, a woman who runs a low-income housing project, or employers who hire people who take advantage of the EITC. As far as employers, they see as the Earned Income Tax Credit is phased out, people don't want to work more, right? I think the EITC, depending upon the family size, somewhere between $16,000 and $20,000, it kind of discourages work, right? Because they begin to take it away. And of course, you're discouraging work by taking away the EITC. At the same time, you're taking away a low-income housing and SNAP and everything else. Are you aware of the fact that these programs discourage work and that employers, particularly when you're employing people in that $10 to $15 an hour range, it's common for them to recite stories of either employees who don't want to work more or don't want raises because it'll take away their government benefits?
Mr. Grothman, you and I had a similar exchange last year. I think with EITC and child tax credit, we have not seen data that supports that. We've actually seen the opposite on the research I've seen on child tax credit, for example. Families who have enough income maybe to put their kids in childcare, women and some men are able to actually re-enter the workforce. So we've not seen that data.
I don't know, I asked you last year, but
CTC, but similar in similar vein. Does it discourage work?
right. They also, obviously, as with many programs like this, and it's true the Pell Grants, by the way, which you're increasing as well. Let's focus on the Pell Grants. I have heard complaints among constituents that their children don't get Pell Grants, or maybe complaints that their siblings' children get Pell Grants, who don't work as much. Usually if you get married, it makes you ineligible for them because it moves you up the percent of poverty you're under. Do you ever hear complaints of people saying, I'm middle class, my child has to take out the student loans, my sister's not working, her child gets, quote, free college? Are you aware of that perverse incentive in there?
You brought up something you've heard from your constituents. I've not heard that complaint about Pell Grants before. Typically, Pell Grants have enjoyed wide range support because they do help working families, not people who sit at home, but working families send their kids to school when they couldn't afford it any other way, which is why we have been committed to doubling the size of Pell Grants.
And it doesn't bother you that those Pell Grants, if you're middle class, you're not eligible, but if you're not working or work very little, you're getting an even more generous grant.
I think we have a larger issue of college affordability we have to do something about. You're absolutely right. Cost of debt. Even people with Pell Grants often have to take on debt. So you're hitting on issues that we have to find solutions to, but one of the key ways to help working families is through the Pell Grant program.
I'll give you one more thing. You're expanding SNAP as well. When I tour my food banks, I like to tour them, and it's wonderful to see so many people helping out people in need. But when I tour the food banks in my district, they always make a point that all the food there is what I'll call healthy food. You know, when I go to a food bank, privately operated by a church, what have you, you never see Mountain Dew or Pop-Tarts on the shelf. It's always better stuff. Would you consider, if you're going to expand SNAP, restricting it more to programs like we have for the WIC, where we no longer give unhealthy food, particularly at a time we have a obesity epidemic, we have a problem with diabetes among young people. Do you think they ought to change that SNAP program to make it more like the WIC?
Congressman, I'm happy
The
to.
gentleman's time's expired, but I would like for you to
I'm
go ahead
happy
and
to
answer
talk
his
to the
question.
Secretary of Agriculture and Agriculture about the nutritional requirements in SNAP. And I want to thank everyone here for also their support in WIC. And thank you for bringing up that critically important program. But I will take that back to agriculture, this idea of nutritional guidelines.
I think the gentleman from Wisconsin, and now yield